All right, so today we're going to dig into the mandate of an organization called Frontier Missions International, or FMI for short. And what's really interesting about them is their singular, all or nothing focus. We're going to break down their own foundational text to really get a handle on the one thing that drives everything they do.
Okay, so right out of the gate, FMI hits us with this incredibly bold statement: FMI exists because FPGs remain. Now, think about that. This isn't just some mission statement you'd find on a website, it's an existence statement. It means their entire reason for being, for even existing as an organization, is tied to this thing called an FPG. It's a really powerful all or nothing premise.
And that, of course, brings us to the most important question, the one this whole explainer is really built around. What exactly is an FPG? I mean, if we can understand this one acronym, we basically unlock the key to their entire identity, their whole purpose. So to get to that answer, we actually need to rewind a little bit and get some context. The source material describes FMI's origin as a burdened cry. I mean, that phrase alone tells you a lot, doesn't it? It suggests this whole thing was born from a really deep sense of urgency and purpose. So here are the basics. The organization got its start back in 2015, over in Malawi, founded by a Reverend Reuben and his wife Elizabeth. And they felt what the text calls heaven's call, a drive to tackle a specific global need. But, and this is important, that need wasn't always defined with the kind of laser focus they have today. Okay, and this is where the story gets really interesting. See, FMI's focus, well, it evolved. They didn't just start out of the gate with this term FPG. Nope. They actually went through this whole process of refining and honing their mission over time, a journey that they call sharpening the definition. This timeline here really shows that evolution in their thinking. See, for decades, the standard term in this kind of work was unreached people groups, or UPGs. That concept goes all the way back to 1974. So naturally, when FMI started in 2015, they worked within that same framework. But the key moment, the real turning point, came in 2018. That's when they made this pivotal decision to sharpen their focus from that broader category of UPGs to something much more specific: frontier people groups, or FPGs. And this line from the source just brilliantly captures that moment. They describe that 2018 shift with this really evocative phrase: in 2018, we removed the mask. I mean, think about that. This wasn't just them changing some words around. For them, it was a moment of incredible clarity, like finally seeing their true, most precise calling. So what's the actual difference between these two terms? Well, this breaks it down pretty clearly. Unreached people groups, UPGs, that's kind of the general broad category. But frontier people groups, the FPGs, they're a very specific subset inside that larger group. FMI's definition for them is peoples beyond the church's geography. What does that mean? It means these are the groups that aren't just unreached. They're so isolated geographically and culturally that there's practically no local church, no believers nearby who can even begin to reach them. That phrase right there, beyond the church's geography, that is absolutely key. It signals a mission that is literally going to the absolute edges, the farthest frontiers. So, okay, now that we have the definition down, let's take a look at the sheer scale of the challenge FMI has actually set for itself. And get ready for some big numbers. First, let's just talk about the number of distinct groups. FMI's source text says there are around 5,000 of these unique, totally isolated people groups still out there. 5,000. And get this, within those 5,000 groups, you're looking at an estimated 2 billion people. 2 billion. To put that in perspective, that's roughly a quarter of the entire world's population, living in what FMI calls the farthest land. And here it is. This is the statistic that really drives their entire mission. Among those 2 billion people, it's estimated that less than 0.1%, that's less than 0.1%, have any kind of local Christian community that can share their faith. That staggering number, that's what fuels FMI's incredible sense of urgency. So you can see this as a massive, massive challenge. But for FMI, it isn't just a project, It's their entire identity. The source uses this really powerful metaphor to explain it. The FPG is both their mission and their mirror. And this really solidifies that whole idea. The FPG literally defines FMI, so when the organization looks in the mirror, what does it see? It sees these isolated people groups. Its identity is a direct reflection of the problem it was created to solve.
So think about it. If that problem goes away, so does FMI's reflection, and with it, their entire reason to exist.
And really, it doesn't get much clearer than this. This quote just shows you the incredible depth of their commitment. This isn't just a job for them. The FPG is their mandate, their reason, their very breath. It's a totally all-consuming focus that defines everything they do, from life right up until death.
So all of this leads us to the final and maybe the most radical part of FMI's entire mandate. What's the ultimate end goal here? Well, it's right there in their closing words, until none appear. You see, this organization has a very, very clear way of measuring success, and victory for them isn't about growing bigger or raising more money. Nope. Victory is the day that the number of frontier people groups finally hits 0. The day when a local Christian community has been started in every single last one of them.
And this is the really fascinating conclusion. On that day, FMI isn't going to pivot to a new mission. They're not going to rebrand. They will, in their own words, joyfully close its door. Think about that. Their ultimate goal is to make themselves obsolete. The mission's done. And as they put it, there's no market anymore.
So we're left with this final, really thought-provoking question. In a world where pretty much every organization is trying to grow bigger and last forever, what does it mean when your success is defined by your own planned and celebrated closure? FMI's mandate, it's this incredibly powerful and singular vision, and it's a stark reminder that for them, the mission was never about the organization itself. It was only and always about the frontier people groups.